It's March 7th here in Seoul, and I'm Dami. We begin with the stories making the headlines at this hour, starting with yet another delay to U.S. tariffs on Canada and Mexico. U.S. President Donald Trump has paused levies for some Mexican and Canadian goods imported to the U.S. under the U.S. Mexico-Canada Agreement until April 2nd. Officials from the U.S. and Ukraine are meeting in Saudi Arabia next week to discuss the Ukraine war and resume their minerals deal talks 2 weeks after the two nations' leaders failed to strike an agreement. 15 people were injured on Thursday after two Air Force KF-16 fighter jets mistakenly dropped 8 air-to-surface bombs on a residential area in Pocheon City during live fire drills. The bombing's been identified as an error with the pilot's coordinates input. U.S. President Donald Trump pulled back from his harsh trade war with Canada and Mexico, temporarily suspending tariffs on goods from the two countries once again. Our Ian starts us off.
U.S. President Donald Trump has granted temporary tariff exemptions for Mexico and Canada on goods that are covered by a trade agreement between the three nations until April 2nd. Trump said Thursday that a previously imposed 25% tariff will be paused for about 1 month under the United States Mexico-Canada Agreement, which according to a White House official covers about 50% of Mexican imports and 38% of Canadian imports.
It's just a modification short term because I didn't want to hurt it would have hurt the American car companies if I did that.
This follows the announcement of a decision the previous day to grant a 1-month tariff exemption on cars imported from Mexico and Canada. Trump's tariff plans, which went into effect on March 4th, have caused the stock market to drop and raised concerns among U.S. consumers. Trump pointed to a failure to deal with the trafficking of drugs, particularly fentanyl, into the U.S. as a reason for the tariffs. And according to the White House, Thursday's changes were made after discussions between Trump and Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum and talks between Canadian officials and the Trump administration.
Also, we discussed drugs, and they've been working much harder lately. Do you notice that? On people coming in and drugs, and we've made tremendous progress on both.
A White House official expressed hope that Mexico and Canada will make enough progress on the fentanyl issue so that the matter can be removed from the agenda, allowing the U.S. to move forward with discussions on reciprocal tariffs. April 2nd is also the day Trump plans to apply reciprocal tariffs on countries that charge import taxes on U.S. goods. Also on Thursday, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent strongly defended the Trump administration's tariff strategy. Speaking at the Economic Club of New York, he said access to cheap goods is not the essence of the American dream. Bessent said that President Trump is willing to take bold steps to achieve his trade goals with an aim to rebalance the global economic system. Ian, Arirang News.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says he will meet with U.S. officials in Saudi Arabia next week, with peace talks set to resume there. Our Lee Seung-ja tells us more.
After the fallout from Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's visit to the White House for talks with U.S. President Donald Trump last week, talks on a possible ceasefire for the over 3-year-long war will resume in Saudi Arabia. President Zelensky took to X on Thursday to announce that he will be visiting to meet Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. He added that after the meeting, he and a delegation of senior Ukrainian officials will meet with senior U.S. officials in the Middle Eastern country to continue talks on ending the Ukraine war. U.S. Special Envoy for the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, also told reporters earlier in the day at the White House that Washington is currently coordinating talks with Kyiv, adding that the goal is to establish the basic framework for a peace agreement and an initial ceasefire agreement.
And from that, we're now in discussions to coordinate a meeting with the Ukrainians in Riyadh or even potentially Jeddah. So the city's moving around a little bit, but it will be Saudi Arabia. And I think the idea is to get down a framework for a peace agreement and an initial ceasefire as well.
Meanwhile, UK officials say that around 20 countries are interested in joining a coalition to help Ukraine. The plan, which is led by the UK and France, also seeks to help Ukraine in upholding any future ceasefire agreement. Not all countries involved would necessarily send troops, but could provide other support. France is also scheduled to hold a meeting next week with military chiefs of staff from European countries that are ready to provide post-war military support to Ukraine. A senior European diplomat told Reuters earlier this week that a Ukrainian peace plan being pursued by Britain and France is likely to be drawn up in days. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
And Trump on Thursday indicated a potential shift in the U.S. participation in NATO to favor members spend a set percentage of their GDP on defense. According to U.S. officials, a possible policy change could mean the U.S. prioritizes military exercises with NATO members that meet the defense spending goal. Additionally, it could choose not to defend a NATO member if it's attacked, which would go against the NATO principle that an attack on one member is an attack on all. Trump has repeatedly criticized the NATO member countries for not meeting the current goal of spending 2% of their GDP on defense, arguing that the imbalance is unfair and places an extra burden on the U.S. Polish President Andrzej Duda publicly praised South Korean weapons during a visit to the NATO headquarters in Brussels on Thursday. During a joint press conference with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, President Duda said that Poland had purchased a large amount of Korean weapons since the start of the Ukraine war. He said the reason Poland buys Korean weapons is simple, saying South Korean manufacturers supply wonderful modern weapons within just a few months. The Polish leader specifically mentioned the K2 main battle tanks, K9 self-propelled howitzers, and the Chunmoo multiple launch rocket system his country purchased. It's been over 3 months since President Yoon Suk-yeol made an abrupt martial law declaration. Now, nearly 100 days later, the fate of his political career will be decided soon, as his impeachment verdict could come as early as next week. Let's turn to legal expert An Jung-sung. Welcome back.
Good morning.
Good morning. So speculation is high that the Constitutional Court will deliver its ruling in the second week of this month, that is next week, most likely on the 14th. The question is, why the 14th?
Well, the KCC has some scheduling issues, and if you check the KCC's calendar, they have opened the calendar up to the 17th this month. So we have open window about 10 days to wait for the decision. And also there's previously, based on the previous impeachment trial cases, for the President Roh Moo-hyun, it took 14 days. And for the Park case, it took 11 days to deliver a court decision. So we're looking at maybe based on maybe 14 or 11 days. And also, if you look at going back to the Yoon Suk-yeol's case, and the final hearing was held on the February 25th.
Right.
If we're using two window, calculation, there could be 11th early in the 11th. Or however, and if you based on the speculate based on the day of a week, the both previous cases was held out was on Friday. So with some people saying might be the 14th because that's a Friday. And lastly, there was previously, KCC has like a minimum 2-day advance notice for them to make a decision. So now it's a Friday. So unless we hear something from today from the KCC, most likely on the 14th, I expect.
Well, President Yoon made sure he was present at most of his impeachment trial hearings. Now, do you think he'll show up on the rolling day if it's on the 14th?
Well, yeah, interesting question. Well, first of all, impeachment trial is not a criminal trial. So therefore, in this case, the defendant, right, President Yoon Suk-yeol is not legally required to physically attend any court proceedings. However, he did it in most cases. And it is fact that it's a privilege for him to attend on the ruling day. So, but we have not heard anything about his representatives and whether or not he show up, but it's a choice for him to make.
Well, do you think the ruling then will be aired live? Because some of the rulings in the past have been were aired live.
Oh yeah, I believe so. I mean, because it's really public interest in them, and the public has the right to know about what's going on, and this is a very critical case in the Korean history. Okay, and so we have right to know, and they should air live on the day.
So we talked about Yoon's possible presence on the ruling day, as well as the possibility over the ruling being aired live. And also, all eyes are on what kind of statement on the court's decision will be released on the ruling day. This is all confidential at the moment, right?
That's correct, right? Because you don't want to get any leak, because there are a lot of political issues already happening surrounding the KCC. So I think that if I'm the justice at the KCC, I think I have two principal goals. First of all, they try to approach the consensus, because that if you have any disagreement officially, there will be a lot of political pressure afterward. That's it get even worse. And second, and I think they try to minimize any political or social dispute after the case is over. So I guess they think about the minority view. If they fail to achieve consensus, they have to write about their minority view, which might be politically attacked thereafter. There might be serious attacks. So I think that the justice will be concerned about the social instability, continuing after the case. So I think that they try to minimize their social dispute by making consensus ruling.
Well, it's not just the South Korean leader's impeachment trial. There are also other ongoing cases, namely the impeachment trial of Prime Minister Han Duck-soo. Now, some experts are saying that ruling for Prime Minister Han Duck-soo will come first. What's your take on this?
Well, it depends on what kind of things you're using, legal theory using it, or if we really first come, first serve, or is it a priority issue. Actually, as you know, that the KCC already publicized the fact that they will prioritize the President Yoon Suk-yeol impeachment trial first, right? So I guess they will get prioritized. Second of all, there's some other technical issues that if the Prime Minister Han Duck-soo case comes out earlier, it might create more uncertainty in political arena, because we don't know what we're going to do with the appointment of the last justice to the KCC bench. So if something happened, there could further delay on the decision process. So I think that KCC would make the president case first, or at least at the same time with the Prime Minister Han Duck-soo, right?
Well, calm before the storm. We'll have to get back to you in the coming weeks. Sir, thank you so much for connecting with us this morning. We appreciate it.
Okay, my pleasure. Thank you.
What were supposed to be regular joint drills to bolster security ended up in a nightmare as several bombs accidentally fell on a residential area in Pocheon City on Thursday. Our defense correspondent Kim Bo-kyung has more.
Several civilians and soldiers were injured after bombs fell on a residential area in the northern city of Pocheon, Gyeonggi-do Province on Thursday morning. According to related authorities, bombs had fallen on Pocheon's Dogongri at around 10 a.m., damaging several buildings. The bombs came from the Joint Air and Ground Force live fire training exercises between South Korea and the U.S. They were being held in connection with the annual springtime exercise, the 2025 Freedom Shield, slated to kick off on March 10th. The exercise involved the Korean Air Force, Army, and U.S. Forces Korea and took place at the Seungjin Fire Training Field in Pocheon. Two KF-16 fighter jets that formed a single flight unit wrongly dropped 8 Mk-82 bombs, 4 from each, veering off and heading around 8 kilometers away from the original target.
The cause of the abnormal drop has been identified as an error with the pilot's coordinates input.
The aircraft's pilot in charge of making the first bomb drop reportedly entered the wrong coordinates before takeoff. Pilots need to verify the numbers even after. An investigation will determine whether the coordinates were double-checked. It is highly likely the second pilot made the same mistake as 2 fighter jets dropped the bombs almost simultaneously. Mk-82 bombs are used to destroy structures such as buildings and bridges. They are dropped using an unguided method rather than a GPS-guided system. The impact points of all 8 bombs were confirmed, and the Air Force said there were no unexploded bombs. While expressing sincere wishes for the quick recovery of the injured, Korean Air Force established an accident response committee to investigate further and assess the damage. It also noted that necessary measures, including compensation, would be actively carried out. The Air Force Chief of Staff also vowed to conduct comprehensive safety training for all personnel and improve verification procedures to prevent such accidents from happening again. As for drills, the Freedom Shield exercise will go ahead as planned, but the military decided to suspend all live-fire training, including rifle exercises, until the exact cause of the incident is determined. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
South Korea's current account surplus scrapped the surplus for the first month of the year due to fewer working days over the Lunar New Year holiday. According to data released by the Bank of Korea on Friday, the country posted a $2.94 billion current account surplus in January to mark 21 months of the account being in the black. Exports, however, saw a downturn for the first time since September 2023, with a fall of more than 9% year-on-year, with 4 fewer working days in January than the year before. Now, while IT exports continue to boom, non-IT products such as petroleum products and automobiles saw a decline in exports. Over in Spain now, where this year's MWC is taking place. And the 38th edition is once again offering boundless ideas about how practical and handy AI can be in our daily life. Our Lee Soo-jin has this report.
Can you tell me about Arirang TV?
I'm sure there are lots of great entertainment on your TV channel.
Meet Amira, UAE telecom operator Tisselet's humanoid robot. Her realistic natural conversations are powered by generative AI as well as AI-driven natural language processing that enables her to understand speech, recognize emotions, and generate human-like responses in real time. But Amira is just one of the many ways this year's Mobile World Congress is showcasing how AI can be applied across various industries.
This year, AI is sort of like spaghetti. It is everywhere. And I think that's a very healthy sign that we're embedding the new technology in other technologies.
An expansion of AI into various domains and subsequently into everyday life is also reflected in the wide range of startups representing Korea at MWC.
This year at MWC, a record 147 companies are showcasing their innovations in the Korean pavilion. You can see how widespread AI is through those companies as AI makes its way into both daily life and various industries.
Beacon, for instance, showcases how AI is revolutionizing healthcare by using AI-powered diagnostics to analyze skin and scalp images to detect potential issues and provide personalized recommendations for treatment and care. Most recently, it has expanded into beauty with a personal color analysis feature where AI determines users' ideal color palette simply by analyzing a photo of their face. I gave it a try myself and was categorized as winter, which includes cool tone shades. And over in the pet industry, PetNow uses AI and deep learning to scan and recognize unique biometric markers of animals, such as a dog's nose print, to help pet owners register and track their pets more easily. The company believes that the use of AI in the pet industry is going to continue evolving.
Of course, I mean, our standalone app is already harnessing multiple layers of AI, and there are also numerous AI pet tech companies, especially in Korea, where everything's fast, everything's cutting edge, and the pet industry itself in Korea is very booming.
And this widespread presence of AI is generating multiple new revenue streams as it creates diverse business opportunities.
AI's true meaning is people's lives and people's culture, K-culture, and with the especially sports and music. This is the true beauty of the technology can impact the daily life.
South Korean telecom giant KT's AI-powered sports announcer system, for instance, breaks down language barriers at sports games by utilizing advanced real-time AI translation technology.
I'm your stadium announcer, Sumi. Thank you for visiting here. Show your support with loud cheers for the team.
Live commentary and announcements like this during a game are captured and translated into multiple languages in real time. This will make local sporting events more accessible to a wider global audience, which will subsequently open the door to increased viewership, new sponsorship opportunities, as well as lucrative licensing deals for the telecom company. But AI is now generating revenue not only from the entertainment side of everyday life, but also from its integration into homes, a sector traditionally not seen as a high revenue earner for AI. KT's AI-based home service platform leverages the AI-powered IPTV set-top box Giga Genie to connect various smart devices within homes, enabling paying subscribers to control appliances, lighting, and security systems through voice commands.
Genie, I'm home. AI is no longer a distant concept or for a select few. It's seamlessly being integrated into healthcare, stadiums, and even our homes, transforming our everyday life. Isujin, Arirang News, Barcelona.
Good morning, I'm Yoon Se-young, and this is The World Now. Russian President Vladimir Putin has criticized French President Emmanuel Macron following his warning about the threat Russia poses to France and Europe. In a televised address on Wednesday evening, Macron described Russia as a direct threat to Europe. He also announced his decision to open a strategic debate on nuclear deterrence to protect European allies, adding that France must be prepared for the possibility that the United States may no longer stand by its side. In response, Putin on Thursday mocked Macron's remarks by drawing a comparison to Napoleon Bonaparte's failed attempt to conquer Russia in 1812. The Kremlin also denounced Macron's speech as highly confrontational, accusing him of wanting the war in Ukraine to continue. Over in Switzerland, a planned conference on the application of the Geneva Conventions to the occupied Palestinian territories was cancelled just one day before it was scheduled to take place. Switzerland announced the cancellation on Thursday, citing a lack of participants after some countries expressed concerns. The Swiss government had invited 196 signatories of the Geneva Conventions to attend the March 7th meeting in Geneva, which aimed to discuss the situation of civilians in the West Bank, Gaza, and East Jerusalem. The conference was set to focus on the Fourth Geneva Convention, which outlines humanitarian protections for civilians in conflicts or occupied territories. Israel, one of the signatory states, did not immediately comment on the cancellation. However, it had previously criticized the conference, calling it part of the legal warfare against Israel. A lunar lander developed by U.S. space exploration company Intuitive Machines touched down on the moon on Thursday local time, but its success remains uncertain. The U.S. company said it is unclear whether the Athena lander had touched down upright near the lunar south pole or had tipped over, as happened to its first lander last year. This marked the second moon landing under NASA's Commercial Lunar Delivery Program. Last Sunday, another Texas-based company, Firefly Aerospace, successfully landed its Blue Ghost lander on the northeastern edge of the near side of the moon. In Brazil, carnival fever has once again swept through Rio de Janeiro. Starting on the last day of February, hundreds of street parties, known as blocos, paraded through the city streets with unique themes and musical styles. The lively celebrations attracted thousands of revelers. The highlight of Carnival was the fierce competition among the top 12 samba schools at the Sambadrome Stadium. After a thrilling performance, the Beija Flor Samba School was crowned the winner for the 15th time, and the results announced Wednesday. The festival will continue until Saturday.
The warming trend seems to be kicking in, and we are seeing a welcome rise in temperatures across Korea. However, mornings stay on the chilly side, so stay mindful of wide temperature gaps and do dress accordingly for your mornings and evenings. Unfortunately, the dust level will remain high in western parts of Korea, so consider wearing a mask when outdoors. Staying hydrated also helps protect your respiratory system. This will also help to combat the low humidity level. Air quality could still be impacting our weekend with warmer air, but southern provinces will see some spotty rain on Saturday under cloudy skies. After the highs will be similar to yesterday, topping out at 10 degrees here in the capital. Daegu, Gyeongju, Busan will be seeing at 11 degrees Celsius. Afternoon rain is in the forecast for Jeju. And by early next week, it could feel like early April with daytime highs in Seoul, topping out in the low to mid-teens. So it's time to pack away your winter jackets this weekend.
That's all we have for this morning. Arirang News will be back at 5 p.m. Korea time. Thanks for watching.